Lights, camera, action.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another review, and today we're going to be talking about the newest horror film, Obsession. So this movie pretty much follows a guy who has a crush on this girl that he works with, and after she kind of sort of friend zones him, he makes this wish that she loves him more than anything else in the entire world, and disastrous results ensue. So this is a movie that has been on my radar since last year when it premiered at Fantastic Fest. People came out of that movie raving about it. And since then, it's played at multiple film festivals, and every time it kept playing at a film festival, everybody talked about how great it was, how scary it was, and creepy it was, and really how effective it was. So it's been really hyped up for me, and it's one of those things, just like every other movie, maybe earlier this year, like Undertone and a few others, that everyone was like, this is probably one of the best movies of the year, one of the scariest movies of the year, and it's one of those things, after you've heard it so many times, you're like, oh, is this going to be one of those movies that's completely overhyped? And thankfully, I'm here to say that this movie absolutely lives up to all of its hype. Curry Barker is somebody that I'm actually pretty new to the scene with. I know that he did Milk and Cereal. I was extremely late on watching that movie. I think I finally watched it earlier in January of this year. Really, really good stuff. And then just this past weekend, I finally went back and started watching his other short films. I know that he's done comedy stuff as well, and I haven't really dove into that side of him yet. I have a friend that really kind of knows more about him than I do, and he said that his comedy stuff is really good. So I've been interested to kind of go back and watch his skits as well. So Curry Barker is somebody that is definitely on my radar now, especially after this movie. So let's kick this thing off. So starting off with some stuff that I really enjoyed about this movie is one being how tense this movie is. This is by far one of the tensest movies that I have ever sat through. It's been a while since I was pretty tense during Undertone. I know that movie didn't work for a lot of people, but it was really effective on me. But this movie, like, there's something about it that it is nonstop full force from the minute that he makes the wish. That it is pedal to the metal from that point to the very end of the movie, and it really, there is no points where it lets up. It has a great through line through it to where it holds that tension through pretty much this entire movie. They do such a great job with establishing this character of Nikki kind of early on that even the scenes that she is not in, you are still just as tense. Like there's a scene where he gets to go to work by himself, or he's talking to a friend or something like that. And they've built her up so much that even though she's not there, you have this lingering feeling that she's out there. She's going to see this. Like something horrible is going to happen. So there's always that lingering feeling, even when she's not there, that she's there. And it's so effective because it goes throughout the movie like that. And like I said, it just never lets up. There's even these small little subtle things that are just as tense and creepy as something along with the bigger stuff that happens. Like there's a small little tense scene where Bear, our character, goes to work and he's talking to a friend of his, and the whole time that they're talking, it's a great frame shot to where the two of them are having this conversation with each other, and she is standing at the register just staring. She's blurred out in the background, but you can see that she never breaks that stare. And even something as small and subtle as that, but like those moments like that really help build that tension. And like I said, they do such a great job of just slowly building stuff, and then things will really pop off, and then it'll slowly build stuff again. But it is so tense. Like I cannot get over how tense this movie was. Like I spent majority of this movie with my hand over my mouth, like just slowly kind of like moving, squirming in my chair because of just how uncomfortable I really felt through majority of it. As somebody that has anxiety, I feel like if you're somebody that has anxiety like myself, this movie will really, really get under your skin a little bit more because you feel so much like anxiety, not only for yourself, but for this character. And then especially when the uncomfortable parts happen, you're like, you start to really feel it even more. So just a great job all around of really building this tension and uncomfortableness throughout it. And like I said, it's like that through the entire movie, and it just never lets up. And there's even a scene in this movie that I heard about. Obviously, I didn't hear the details about it, but it was one of those things to where people kept talking about. There's a scene in the movie where, and I'm not going to give anything away, where she is watching him sleep, and that is some of the scariest shit that I have seen in a while. Like, it is so freaking tense during that scene. Like, you are feeling every single moment of that. And it's one of those situations where you kind of think about it yourself and you're like, how would I handle that situation? What would I do in that situation? But it is absolutely just downright tense. And it is so creepy and effective, down to the way that they do all of the panning shots around and the way that they light it and all that stuff, which I'll get more into the lighting later. But such a damn good job. And of course, I have to talk about the acting in this movie. I love all the characters. Really, there's really only 4 main characters in this movie. Obviously, our 2 being Bear and Nikki, but they have 2 friends as well. And the acting overall, I think, is incredible, especially from what Indy Neveretti has to do in this movie. She deserves some kind of recognition for this movie because I think her performance is absolutely phenomenal. And this movie would not have worked if they didn't find an actress like her that was able to pull something like this off. And I think she was born to play a role like this. Like, she absolutely nails this part. I mean, legit down to every single thing that she has to do. She has to do these certain body movements. She has to change her voice in all these ways. She has to be completely psychotic in these certain moments. She has to be more subdued and loving when she wants to be. Even down to just how she can change her face like crazy. She'll just be super happy and go into this like sad or go into this just manic state or whatever out of nowhere. And like I said, it's not only that, but it's her physical performance as well that she does. And she is just absolutely incredible in this movie. I mean, she sells everything about this movie. She is just absolutely phenomenal. This is one of the best horror performances I've seen in a while. So she is just fantastic. And same goes for our other actor, Michael Johnston. I think he does a really good job of really playing that like shy, reserved, kind of like awkward character that really wants to ask this character out. And he does such a great job of playing that it plays off of Nikki's character so well, because the parts where he has to be really like afraid of her or really like just he essentially is the audience, how we do not know what is coming. And he plays that so well. And I think the two of them together have absolutely amazing chemistry. Like, even from the get-go, there's points to where their chemistry is just fantastic. Like, it's another one of those things to where if you didn't buy into their chemistry, I don't think it would have worked as well. But like I said, their chemistry is one of the strongest that I've seen in a very long time. That's one thing I really appreciate about this movie, was that we, as the audience, it's almost like we are walking on eggshells like our main character. Like, we don't know what is going to set this character off, what you're going to say or do. We don't know what she's going to, any of that. And it's such a great job of, not only are you so tense because of the situations that are happening, but you're having to try to walk this fine line of being like, okay, what is he going to say or do that's really going to set this character off? And as the audience, we feel like we are in the shoes of his character, being like, okay, we got to tiptoe around this somehow, because I can't stand to go through this again. One of the things I really like about this movie is that Curry Barker actually was able to put a lot of humor into it. Not like a lot, but subtle humor. And I knew that would probably be the thing, him coming from a comedy background and whatnot. But the thing I appreciated most about him doing it is that some of these scenes are so bombastic and over the top that you can't help but have that nervous laughter about it. Like, you're like, okay, I am so uncomfortable that this situation is ridiculous, but I'm also uncomfortable, so I need to, laugh at it. And he does such a great job with that, because the fact that it never breaks the tension. Even the scenes where, something crazy is happening, it is still so tense, but you still find yourself with that nervous laughter, that just nervous chuckle about yourself, and you're still on the edge and tense about it. Like, it never, like I said, I just love how the humor never ever takes away from any of the moments that are tense or scary. Like they said, they remain fully, because really, this, at the end of the day, this is a straight horror movie, but it has those moments of some movies have those moments of levity and stuff to it. This one is very dark, but it has those humorous moments. But like I said, I just appreciate that that the humor never undercuts the scares or the tension. I think it was just, he found that fine line and he walked it just brilliantly. I also love how this movie is lit. Like, I love what they do with Nikki's character. Like, I love how they light her in certain moments. Like, as soon as the wish is made, all of a sudden it's like this change happens to where a lot of the times when Bear sees her, her face is almost in shadows. Like she shows up to the house a couple times and like her face is completely in shadows, or there's a scene where she's holding like a vase up over her face or whatever, and it's just very cool and very visually appealing to look at, because it's almost like the scenes where she's in shadow, it's almost like they've done something to her eyes to make her eyes really stand out. And my God, is it creepy. Like I said, not only is it, again, adding to that really like on edge factor that you already feel, but it really cranks up that creepiness with how they choose to film her and how they choose to keep her in the shadows like that. Like I said, there's something really particular I loved about how her eyes look in those shots. I think there's something really just piercing about them, and it's very effective, and I love the stylistic choice of them wanting to keep her in the shadows like that. I also really love the whole element of this One Wish Willow that is in this movie. I love the fact that it's never really explained. I love the fact that it focuses on this one particular wish and this one story, and it never goes like in detail about the lore of what this thing is or where it came from or anything like that. I feel like there is little teeny like hints to maybe what it could be, but not like full on. Like it's just kind of there, and I really like that about it. And I think that adds something to the creepiness of it, and like the fact that you don't know what it is at all. It's the same way with like getting a villain's backstory. If you get too much of it, I feel like it kind of takes away from the overall like creepiness or the lore of that character. Where this movie, like I said, I love the fact that it just focuses on this one story and this one wish, and it's been hinted at that other people has complained about these things, so it's interesting that it's going to exist in a certain world where other stories could take place. So I think that is a really cool detail. Because of the things that they hint about the wishing willows in this movie, is that I think that I'm very curious to see how it would mess up other people's wishes, or how it would screw up something else from other people, because what it does to Nikki in particular and stuff that it hints at towards her character, I'm not going to give anything away, is very unsettling. Like it's very, if you really think about it and think on it, it's very really unsettling what it really kind of does to her character. So I'm curious if it's not on a person, for example, or if somebody wishes for something materialistic, which there is kind of sort of something like that in this movie. It happens later on, not to give anything away. But I'm also really curious how that would affect somebody in that particular manner, considering how what is done to Nikki's character is kind of really dark. But yeah, I'm just curious about that. I also really like the fact that Bear, our main character, is like this morally gray character. As the movie starts, you find yourself really relating to the character, and you really want to see him get out of the situation. But as the movie goes forward, you find yourself watching him make these mistakes over and over again and making the wrong choices. To eventually, you're like, dude, come on now. And it's like morally gray because it's almost like wrestling with the decision of something with himself. Like I said, I'm trying not to give anything away, and I'm trying to really tiptoe around this. But like I said, what that wishing willow, how it's affecting Nikki, is I love how it puts him in this situation to where he has to ask himself, what is the better outcome for this situation and whatnot. And I kind of like how it explores that a little bit. It kind of asks those questions a little bit. I think that's a really cool thing to have in a situation like this, because it really adds more, not only more tension, but more of that just effective nature not to our characters overall. One of the things I really also really appreciated really more than anything else about this movie is that, and I've watched interviews with Curry Barker since about how he's talked about cheap jump scares and how he's not a fan of them, and I love how he handles his jump scares in this movie. It's like a modern jump scare, but I love how his jump scares are actually something that's incorporated with what is happening in the movie. It's not, something in the corner, or, like a jump scare that like a cat jumping out of a cupboard or a broom falling in the kitchen or something like that. It's something that's very present in the certain moment that is happening. It's very, a character's talking and then all of a sudden just snaps into this other mode, and that's creates the jump scare. And there are other moments like that pretty much all throughout this movie, because you're already on edge as it is because of all the tense moments. So when those moments happen, they are very effective. They're very effective. They're very in your face, and like I said, they're very relevant to what is happening in the current moment. One of the things that I really liked as well is I like how it kind of plays on this thing of, we've all had crushes in our lives. We've all had those moments where we're like, man, if I could just get her number, if she would just go out with me, or if, God, that guy's so cute, I'd like for him to, just take me on a date or something like that. We've all had those moments. And I love how it's kind of in that vein of you think you know somebody and you don't really know how that person is going to be, because you don't really know anything about them. You just see them, and like I said, it's a crush. And it's one of those things to where they could be the polar opposite of what you have in your mind about that said person, because you don't know how it's going to go. This is like that movie, but like 100 times in hell. Because it's like it really takes that theme and really dives into it. Now in the movie, they're already friends with each other, so obviously the wishing willow kind of has a pretty big effect on her overall. But I just think it's cool to have that. That was right, kind of in the back of my mind the entire time, where, we've all had those moments before, and we're like, if this turned out to be that situation, absolutely not. Hell no. There were multiple times in this movie where I was to myself like, absolutely not. Hell no. No, and I was like, my guy, I said, you've got to figure out how to get out of this somehow. I said, you've got to get out. But I think all of that really accumulates to the storytelling, the writing, the directing, and like I said, these performances in this movie that just elevate everything to 100. It's the same way with the music. I think the music overall in this movie is fantastic. I think it's a fantastic score. There's a lot of really eeriness to like the music overall, but there's a lot of great ways how they use the music. Like there are scenes with Nikki where she's having like these moments, and something can happen out of nowhere like that, and the music changes subtly to fit that mood, and it kind of helps again add to the scare without being like this bombastic loud sound that causes a jump scare. But there's something in the music that really helps kind of cue that scare up. That really does a great job, and like I said, it's just as effective as really anything else in this movie. I also really like the aspect ratio of this movie. It's not really a 4:3; it's just a little bit bigger. It's like almost like a picture in a picture frame, whatever the measurements for that are. But I like that because it wasn't like super wide shots, like these scenes in particular where you're panning around a room or you're trying to find Nikki somewhere. I think those scenes are really well effective with that aspect ratio, because it almost has, there's certain scenes, like when you're panning around the room, you want to be able to see everything because you're scared shitless, but it has that effect on you because you can't see everything. You cannot really make out what is happening in certain corners, because it can either be right at the cutoff or it could be out of frame. And that's super effective. I think that is really effective with the story that they're telling, because they can set up so many scares and so much with that it's really effective. And it's almost like this 4:3, in my opinion, when you do movies like that, almost feel like you're in like this trapped location. Like you're almost just, you're trapped and you can't go anywhere. And that's very much really how this movie feels. It's almost so claustrophobic and stressful for this character, for everything that he's going through. So it adds that extra layer to the movie overall that I just really, really enjoyed and just found it so effective. And one of the cool things about it is I did see an interview where Curry Barker talked about how he chose that aspect ratio because it was almost like you were looking at a picture, like you were peering into somebody's life for a little bit of time and seeing what it was like. So I think that was really cool. And overall, like I said, with what it brings to the movie, I think it's really effective. I also really like the fact that, yes, this premise is nothing new. Like we've seen psychotic relationship movies and whatnot before, but there's something really special about this movie. I don't know what it is. It must be Curry Barker's secret sauce and what he does with the things that he's given. But I like how unique he is. I like how he will really push the boundaries for a lot of things. He will really be like, hey, I'm going as far as I can go, and I'm seeing what I can do with this. And there's just something really special about that. I think he also has a really great job of twisting your expectations. Like you think something's going to happen one way, and it completely happens a way that you did not see coming at all. And I just really like that about him. From watching his short films, I think his short films are the same way. Like I watched, what was it, Heavy Eyes was the one that was only like 5 minutes long. That thing is only 5 minutes, and that thing is creepy as shit. Like, there's something really effective and tense even about just something that he did in a short 5 minutes that he brings to, like, this entire movie. So I love that about him. I think he's going to do really great things. I can't wait to see his next movie. That, and I am personally really excited to what he's going to bring to the new Texas Chainsaw movie. I think letting this guy do what he's going to do, and if he wants to go off the handle and off the rails with it, I'm very excited to see how he's going to really push that one. So I think he's a really good choice for that. So I'm just really excited for the future of what this guy holds, because I think he's just great. I'll be honest, I don't think I really had any negatives for this movie. I was on board for this wild, crazy-ass ride that it took me on, and I enjoyed every single minute of this. Like I said, this was a movie that had me on the edge of my seat. I was stressed out. I was scared at times. The performance, like I said, by Indy Navarrete, like, I don't think anybody can really prepare you for what you're going to see going into this and what she's able to do in this. Like I said, she deserves all the flowers. And this movie is just pure nightmare fuel at times. There's certain things that she does through this movie that is just absolutely unreal. I think this is one that a lot of horror fans will really enjoy and probably talk about through the rest of the year. And this is probably without a doubt one of my favorite, if not my favorite horror movies of the year. It was just really damn good, and it has that effect too that I said in my little out of theater reaction, that if you're single, this movie is going to want to make you stay single. But I cannot recommend this movie enough. I highly recommend going to check it out this weekend. Please do. Have a good time with it. I want to go watch it again just so I can see the audience reactions again. The audience reactions was what was so great about it. So it's a great date night movie. As messed up as that seems, I think you and your significant other will have a great time with it. And even if you're not a horror fan, I think I don't know. I just think you'll have a good time with it. It is that tense and thrilling that I don't know. I think there's something in there that you'll enjoy. And one thing I forgot to mention, it is bloody at times. There is parts where it gets pretty fucking brutal at certain points in time. So be prepared for that. But overall, just a really great time at the theater. Fun ass wild ride. And yeah, man, I cannot recommend this movie enough. Please, 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 please go check this movie out.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you.
But thank you, everybody. That is my review for Obsession. If this is the review that you're finding me on, please come over to the channel and check out all my other reviews that I have from this year and last year as well. And if you have seen Obsession, please comment below and let me know what you thought about it. And also let me know what is your favorite Curry Barker thing that he's done, whether it be his comedy or one of his short films or just Milk and Cereal, or it might be Obsession. Just comment below and let me know what you thought about it. And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That way I can see all of you in the next one. Thank you so very, very much.